Evangelist Franklin Graham has a long history with North Korea, starting with his mother, who went to school there, and continuing with 4 different humanitarian trips he's taken. He joins us now to talk about the President's Summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Reverend Graham, thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
The president said that he talked about Christians in North Korea with Kim Jong-un, and he mentioned you by name, saying you've spent a tremendous amount of time in North Korea. Have you spoken with the president about North Korea?
Yes, I have. I've talked to him on several occasions about North Korea. And I believe this is probably one of the most dangerous areas of the world. And I encouraged him to pay attention to it. And I'm certainly glad that he and the rest of the administration are focusing on this region of the world, because this is an area that this conflict needs to be settled. I'm 65 years old, so my entire life we have basically been at war with North Korea. We just signed a ceasefire, but there was never really anything other than a ceasefire that was signed. And so we've still maintained our armies on the border. Billions of dollars have been spent, and there's been no movement. And President Trump is the first president that has actually tried and is trying to resolve this issue. So I commend him and just thank God that he's taken this direction and he's focusing on this.
I know there's a lot of hope around the world in regards to this, and the president has said that he has secured a commitment for complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. How optimistic or not optimistic are you about this?
Oh, I'm very optimistic. I think the North Koreans have been wanting to talk to the Americans for a long time. And this is the first administration that they've been able to talk to directly like this. The North Koreans just want to be shown respect. And other administrations just would just kind of brush them off like they were nothing. These are prideful people. These are people that back in the 50s and 60s had a pretty strong economy. And they built themselves a beautiful city, Pyongyang, a gorgeous city, wonderful monuments. It's really something to see. But of course, in the 70s and 80s, they've had famine and tremendous economic decline. And this is a country that is in trouble. Of course, it's got the sanctions. They need help. And if America and the DPRK, if they could resolve the differences and have some type of peace treaty between the two, I think this would be huge for the DPRK, and it'd be huge for us. We could save billions of dollars by not having to send so many troops and weapons to that part of the world.
The president said that he also brought up the subject of Christians in North Korea, quote, very strongly. What is your response to that? What do you hope that he said?
Well, first of all, we have been working in North Korea. My father first went over in the 90s. And he made 2 visits, and I have made 4 trips, but my staff, we have made hundreds of trips as we have put in medical equipment, as we have been helping them with a number of different agricultural projects, work with the World Food Program to distribute hundreds of thousands of tons of food. But there are Christians in the country, and I just felt that by Samaritan's Purse, the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, by maintaining our foot in the door, so to speak, we would be able to help the Christians. I want the communist government to know that Christians are not their enemies, but they have the potential of being the very best citizens in the country, because God commands us, all of us, to pray for those that are in authority, whether we pray for our own president, but the people in North Korea that are Christians should be praying for their leadership. And so, yes, I think Christians play a very important role in society, and the North Korean government, I wanted them to know that we were not their enemies, that we were really their friends, and we were there to help them and to encourage them. And I know that there are believers there. I've spoken in a couple of churches, but these are churches that were officially permitted to be open, and there's just a handful of those. And there are a lot of house churches, I've been told, but they've been suffering persecution for years.
Do you think that this summit has the potential to ease some of the persecution on believers in North Korea?
No question. No question. I think this meeting with Kim Jong-un and President Trump is huge. And yes, the Christians are going to benefit in North Korea as a result of President Donald J. Trump.
Well, I know we are all hoping and praying for that. I want to switch gears just briefly and ask you about a bill in California, if I may. Lawmakers there, even today, are looking at a bill in the Senate that would classify attempts to change sexual orientation as consumer fraud. And I know you've just visited the state. How concerned are you about this bill actually passing through and the governor signing it?
Well, of course I'm concerned, but I went through California, 10 different cities, encouraging Christians to vote and encouraging Christians to run for a political office. We need more of the Christian voice in politics, not less. And for the last 20 years, I think Christians have been avoiding politics and backing away from politics. And I remind Christians, we need you on school boards. If every church and every community put up at least one candidate for the school board, you could saturate the ballot. And there's a good chance that the majority would be Christians. And this would have a huge impact not only on the state, but it'd have an impact on our country after a while. So I am concerned about California, no question. They have taken a position, a socialist position, and the socialists in Eastern Europe and of course in Russia, the church suffered always under socialism. And we're going to see, I think, in California, more and more socialistic laws and policies, and it's going to hurt Christians if we don't get involved. And I encourage the people in California, take your state back, do it through the ballot box, go vote. And I would encourage Christians anywhere who's watching this to make sure you vote in your elections and let your voice be heard.
That is great. I want to ask you one other question, and that is there is a new policy in regards to immigration. A lot of Christians are talking about this policy, which appears to be separating immigrant parents and children at the border. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I think it's disgraceful. It's terrible to see families ripped apart, and I don't support that one bit. And I blame the politicians for the last 20, 30 years that have allowed this to escalate to the point where it is today. We are a country of laws. Laws need to be obeyed. No question about that. But the situation that we have today is a result of our lawmakers in Washington over generations ignoring this. And I am hopeful that soon something could be done to fix it.
All right. Well, Reverend Graham, we really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.